Hello, everyone. I have finally, I hope, I think I'm able to share my screen for the first time. I've been trying to do it since, I don't know, about a week ago. And I think I'm able to right now. But this had to be shared. Day 29 of Karen Read Retrial. You know how every time there's the Commonwealth and their witnesses on the stand, all of the supporters of Free Karen Read are talking about them being so dramatic. They're talking about the special prosecutor, Hank Brennan, being dramatic, being loud, being too theatrical. They don't want to admit that he's brilliant. So today, the day 29th, getting too close to the end of this thing, that everybody's so on the side of one or the other. And I wanted to, because I am an acting teacher and that's what I do, I try to figure people out as if they were characters through analysis. Acting is psychology transformed into behavior. What I saw, one of the moments that I saw today from court, that was the most dramatic and the most theatrical. And I would even say that the lawyer from the defense team, Mr. Alessi, I could just see him trying his hands at method acting. That's what I saw. Mr. Alessi was trying his hands at method acting, but I do not think he was credible. You talk about theatricality, you talk about dramatic, you talk about loud, you talk about emphasis on words, you talk about playing to your audiences, not the jurors, they were not there. Mr. Alessi asked Judge Canoni for a mistrial. Yes. And we're going to watch some of his performance because we all know that he played it to the audience out there, outside of the jurors. That's what the defense has been doing the whole retrial. Like I said before, and I'm saying again, Alan Jackson comes from Hollywood. He brings that whole storytelling, fictional. Let's make this visible for the people. Let's bring this up. Let's do this. Let's do that. So we take the spotlight from what is actual fact. Let's give people in the world, because for some reason the world has gone completely absurd, in my opinion. They want spectacles. We all want spectacles. Who doesn't want spectacles? We have a very banal life, most of us. I do. I'm a simple acting teacher. My life is very banal, it's very modest. So, of course, we're going to be attracted by spectacles. We want fireworks. We want theatrical experiences. We want to be captivated. We want to identify. We want to be on the side of one or the other. We want to root for someone. We want to do the same thing when we watch movies, don't we? We are rooting for the main character. That's what we do. So Alan Jackson knew exactly how to approach this retrial the same way that he did in the first one. But this time around, it's not working out too well because this time around, the other player from the opposition is Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan. And he is also playing at their level, but he's playing much better because he is standing on facts and evidence. The defense don't. So this is the moment of day 29. I think the rest was just doesn't make any sense. All of the other witnesses the defense had today did not bring anything to the case, I don't think, from my perspective as I'm watching it. But this moment, if you do not know, you let me know what you think. You let me know what you think about this performance of Alessi trying his hands, even putting on gloves without saying that he was going to put on gloves to create theatrical experience for all of us to watch so we can forget about the fact that they have no evidence to support their case, to support their conspiracy, that the officers and everybody else involved dragged Officer John O'Keefe out of their house, that they never proved that he got into the house. So they're trying to find all these pieces that they want to hang on to because they don't have anything that's relevant. They're desperate. It shows desperation, in my opinion. Here we go. I hope this works.
All right, so I'm told counsel wanted to see me.
Your Honor, issues have arisen related to the cross-examination or re-cross-examination of the last witness, and Mr. Alessi would like to address the court in detail about that.
All right, so the last witness was your witness? Is there a reason?
This is a separate issue, and I'm asking Mr. Alessi to address the court on this.
Okay. What do you want to tell me, Mr. Alessi?
Bear with me a moment, Your Honor. I need to put on evidence gloves.
My mistake. I forgot that he actually walked to the podium from where he's going to start his presentation, his theatrical presentation to the world again, because he's playing to the world. He's playing to all of the people watching to try to change their minds on the facts of this case. So he comes up, he has something that he wants to talk to the judge about. He comes on, he's walking normally in the beginning. I'm looking at this man, at this attorney, as if he were a character. And this is my understanding, my analysis from an acting perspective of what he's doing. Let me walk to the podium because he wants to create that first moment before he even starts the presentation, the theatrical presentation. He wants to create a moment in the beginning. He could have very well, while he was sitting down at the table, when he was sitting down at their defense table, he could have put the gloves on, right? If you don't want to create any moment, if you don't want to get all the attention on you, why not put the gloves before, then come out to the podium? No, he gets up, he walks to the podium, and then he says, bear with me just a moment. I have to put the gloves on. Who does that remind you of? Does that remind you of, oh my God, O.J. Simpson? I just thought of it. Let me put my gloves on. I have to put my gloves on because this is serious. This is not something that anybody can look away from. So he's already giving us the understanding that something serious, something drastic is going to happen. I even forgot when watching it for the first time when it happened that he actually took all this time. Look at the time that he takes. Just think about it. Think about it in the way that you're looking at this. This is how I look at characters, at people, and then I try to figure out why they're doing what they're doing. I put myself in their shoes. So if I were to take gloves right now, and if I were to say to my husband, hold on, husband, I've got to put my gloves on before I talk to you. I have something that I want to have a conversation with you about. Let me put my gloves on. And I take the time in silence. I don't say anything. That's a very powerful move for an actor. That's why I'm saying Alessi is trying his hands at method acting. Will we find him credible at the end? Because sometimes even method actors, the great ones, if they try too hard, with moments when they're playing a character, it doesn't come out credible. It comes out to the audience as if they're trying too hard to prove something, to be believable. Great actors believe what they're doing. Mediocre actors try to make the audience believe. That's a saying in acting. Look how much time he's taking. Do you see how much time he's taking? It's unbelievable. More than I even thought the first time. I didn't realize it was that long.
Your Honor, the defense moves for a mistrial with prejudice based upon intentional misconduct that just occurred before the court and for the jury. And what I'd like to do, Your Honor, this regards the hoodie, and this regards questioning and representations and questioning by Mr. Brennan. And what I'd like to and need to do, Your Honor, is to have 2 documents marked as exhibits, and then I am going to use Exhibit 88, which is an evidence, which is the hoodie, which is why I'm putting on the evidence gloves, and it will become quite obvious very shortly what the issues are.
All right, so what are the things that you want to have marked?
What I would like to have.
He could have put the gloves on now when he said, that's why I put the evidence gloves on. He could have, if he did not want to be theatrical, if he was a serious actor, if he was a serious lawyer, then why would you want to make this statement to be a suspenseful thing that you're going to present by putting the gloves on and then waiting and waiting when you would have had the chance to put them on when you say you're going to put them on? He did it as an actor would do, playing a character. That's theatrical. That's acting. But is it acting greatly or is it acting badly? And then I think he's very nervous when he was getting ready before he started the presentation to ask for a mistrial, because that's what they're doing. That's what he's doing. He was looking down when he was putting the gloves on. I just kind of saw that. And even that part is so telling, because I'm thinking, what must he have said to himself? What was he telling himself? He was probably trying to inner monologue, tell himself to be strong, to be loud. He was probably giving himself directions on how to go about the presentation. And I think when he was ready to speak and he said the first sentence to the judge of what this is about, and we're going to find out it's about Dr. Wolf, the guy from ARCA, and the cross-examination from Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan. We'll see, we'll get there. But he wanted to be so prepared that he was trying so hard that he took too much of a time that when he actually started speaking, he was so nervous. The nervous came through this cough. It's almost like he has a cough. You'll see it. It happens throughout the beginning of this, but then it doesn't happen throughout the middle and the end. So I think in the beginning, no matter how much he was encouraging himself to get up there and do this presentation, I think he was very nervous, because that nervousness was happening in his throat. Physical nervousness, mental nervousness that happens with actors when you're like getting yourself ready and you're prepping and you're like, oh, I'm about to do this and it's going to be so fantastic. I'm going to be so great. And then you have to say the first line and you've done so much preparation within your mind that you've actually tensed up. And I think this is what happened to him. And he does it throughout the first beginning of this thing.
Mark. Well, what I would like to have marked, the first document, and I want to get the specific title. These 2 documents are from the criminalist's file, specifically Ms. Maureen Hartnett's notes regarding cuttings from the hoodie sweatshirt that's in the crime lab file folder.
Okay.
So the first is the back of the hoodie, So with Your Honor's permission, I would have that marked for identification.
Exhibit YYY. Friday.
And may I see that, please?
I'm doing a live.
Okay.
That is the back of the hoodie, Your Honor. If I could please have the next marked in order exhibit for identification.
Exhibit ZZZ, Friday identification.
Just give me a minute to read this, Mr. Alessi.
Yes, Your Honor.
So is it that there are no holes in the back? There were no holes in the back of the sweatshirt?
That's only part of it, but that is in fact the case, Your Honor.
Okay. I can't tell entirely from ZZZ, but if that's your argument, why, for identification appears to support that.
Your Honor, may I have the exhibits marked for identification back from my argument?
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Madam Court Reporter. Your Honor, what we just saw is Attorney Brennan question Dr. Wolf with regard to the hoodie sweatshirt that heretofore has been in the plastic casing for trial. And this is what happened was Attorney Brennan held up the casing with the hoodie sweatshirt, went to the back of the hoodie sweatshirt. First point to note, Mr. Brennan did not show Mr. Jackson the back of the hoodie sweatshirt, didn't give Mr. Jackson an opportunity to look at it.
Can I just ask a question? I noticed that it was over here at the witness stand this morning, so I assumed everyone was aware that something was going to happen with it. Is that not the case, Mr. Jackson?
That is not the case, Your Honor.
Okay.
The first time I realized that line
Okay.
of question was going to be asked was when Mr. Brennan pulled the casing out.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Alessi.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Do you guys see what I'm talking about? The nervousness, how it shows in his throat. It's almost like he's trying to cough something out. Like there's something in his voice, in his throat. It's almost like a growl. I don't know if he's like so prepared and he got so much into it and now he can't maintain that energy, or he's trying to maintain this energy, but he's colliding with it. It's almost like his body won't go there where he wanted to go to do this presentation. That it feels like there's a there's a growling, there's a sound that he makes out of his throat. It's almost like he's got something stuck, you know. And this is, yeah, I'm not going to tell you all the details about the enjoy, honey. I'm not going to tell you all the details about the when it comes to lawyer stuff because I don't know anything about it. I'm telling you from an analysis of an acting coach what I'm seeing and my opinion as an acting teacher.
So, to do it in order, Mr. Brennan takes the hoodie sweatshirt in the casing without notice, shows it to Dr. Wolf, and shows the back of the hoodie, which has certain holes, and I'm going to limit calling them holes to do this chronologically. I'm going to refer to exactly what they are in moments.
Okay, so I need to see it. I know you've got gloves on. Where is it right now? It would help me if you held it up for me now,
Absolutely,
Mr.
Your Honor.
Alessi.
So here is the back
Okay.
of the hoodie.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's very obvious that these are cutting holes cut by the criminalist.
One thing that he does, which is very good as a presentation goes, and good for him that he's doing it, I guess, when he's talking about the hoodie, even before he picks up the object, he demonstrates, he shows it as if he's holding it while he's at the podium before he even goes to grab it, and then shows it to the judge. So he says, Mr. Hank Brennan was holding up the hoodie and he was showing the holes in the back. So he's using the imaginary object. You, as an actor, to engage an audience, to engage people. Like I told you, he's playing to the audience all over the world because everybody's watching this trial, I'm sure. He's doing that to play to the audience. And that works. That works for an actor. Will it work for him to be credible? And then he picks it up and goes to show it to the judge.
And I'm going to get to back to this in a moment. But I would like to do it, and certainly entertain any of your Honor's questions, but in a logical order.
Sure. So I'm not, what about the jurors and lunch? How long do you think this will be?
I think this will take about 10 to 15 minutes, Your Honor.
Do you see how he was ready to go with the next beat of the presentation? He was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to go in chronological order. And then he was ready to go for his presentation. He's already prepared with how the beats, how every segment is going to go. He knows he wants to be theatrical. He's got a thing with his hands. Now it's the gloves, the way that he took time to put them on. A couple of days ago, he was triggered when Dr. Welcher from the prosecution's expert was trying to prove his point that he was explaining, and Alessi was the one on the other side that was asking the questions. And he said, Your Honor, why is he showing, why is he gesticulating with his hands? Why? I'm not doing anything with my hands. There's something with his hands. He's got something with his hands. He's trying method acting. He's trying his hands at method acting. Yeah, that's what I should have said. That's what I wanted to put the title to be. I should have. I'm going to change it.
Okay.
He doesn't like the fact that he's being interrupted, and I can understand that because he was so prepared to go for the second beat, like I said, the second part of his presentation. And Judge Canoni, of course, she says, how much longer do you think this is going to take? Because I want to know the schedule with the lunch, blah, blah. So he doesn't like that very much. He's kind of like being pushed back. He's already like on the energetic platform. And now he had to be stopped. So that must be a little bit annoying to him. I'm sure it is, because you don't want to be interrupted in the middle of, I'm just about to go with my second thing that I wanted to say. My hands up. I have the gloves on. I'm ready. Let me go for it. And then she says, well, how long do you think this is going to be? It's going to be annoying. That's annoying. But, that's what you get. If you want to do a presentation, if you want to do a theatrical event, then you also have to be ready for when the audience might interrupt. What if the audience phone is going to ring? What if somebody from the audience, if you're doing it in a theater and it's not a movie, might say something? You have to know how to adjust in the moment. He's doing that. But I can see he's a little bit annoyed by the whole thing.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Leslie.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I just want to get the flow back going here and the logic. So
see, now he's stumbling over words because he was stopped. So that shows that there was annoyance. And now him trying to get back into the presentation, he got thrown off a little bit by the judge. So he's like, so I just want to, I do that a lot because I don't speak English as my first language. But for somebody like him who does, and he's a professional, he's a lawyer, he's used to public speaking, that was That shows that the moment before when he was stopped by the judge, that was annoying, because he showed in the way that he then tries to continue and he stumbles over the words or he repeats what he wants to say.
And I'll do it quickly. So Mr. Brennan grabs the hoodie sweatshirt inside the casing, doesn't show it to Attorney Jackson, goes up, we have no idea that this was going to happen, goes up, confronts the witness, Dr. Wolf, shows the back of the hoodie sweatshirt, to my knowledge, the first time the back has been referenced of the hoodie sweatshirt, shows Dr. Wolf, confronts him, and basically says, couldn't these holes be caused, and I'm paraphrasing, from a fall backwards? Obviously positing in the juror's mind after, remember, we just saw all kinds of videos with regard to Rescue Randy and impact at 24, 29 miles an hour, more aptly 29 miles per hour, and damage to the hoodie, etc. So what then happens is Dr. Wolf is asked a series of questions, very much.
This is what bothered them so much. What bothered them so much, and what was the most extraordinary, unexpected thing that happened in this whole retrial so far, was that they had Dr. Wolf come as their star witness. And they were supposed to prove that Karen Read could not have hit John O'Keefe. There's no way. After we would have seen Dr. Wolf's from ARCA's presentation with Randy, the dummy. Randy's no dummy. He's not a dummy. He's a rescue Randy used for other things, not for hitting car crashes, recreation. This is what bothers them. They did not see that coming. They did not see that in the presentation of Dr. Wolf from ARCA, what we were going to get was that it is possible that Karen Read could have hit him. The presentation worked in the favor of the Commonwealth, not in the favor of the defense. And I don't know how that happened. I don't know how you don't look at the evidence as a lawyer before your star witness comes in, your star expert. So now they realize they made a huge mistake. Everybody can now imagine that that's a huge possibility that Karen did it, because it shows with the car going back, with the tail light being broken, all of the shards all over the Randy rescue person dummy, not person dummy. So this is why they are so desperate. They don't have any witnesses. They don't have enough time to prove their case. So this is when desperation comes in, and you go for theatrical adventure. You're going to be the biggest you've ever been. You're going to be the loudest. You're going to be the most animated, because you're going to present your case. Hello, everybody. I'm in front of a whole audience. Theater goes back. There's thousands of people. This is what happened. Hank Brennan picks up the sweater. He even puts up his hands again so he can show us the gloves, the theatrical objects, the gloves. This is what happened. This is how humongous this was. He's making more of it than what he was. It was a simple mistake that Hank Brennan did. Is it good that it happened? No, but it was a mistake. People make mistakes. They made mistakes. He's going to make a mistake even now in this presentation. A small mistake. But nobody's talking about that mistake. It wasn't intentional that Hank Brennan brought the evidence, the hoodie of John O'Keefe, in the plastic, the way that it's capped, not to be touched by anybody. And he showed it in cross-examination to Dr. Wolf, picked it up the way that Alessi is making sure, that we're understanding. We know that he did it that way, even though we saw it. Let me just remind everybody how he did it. He picked it up. He showed the back of it to Wolf and said, could these holes in the back of the sweatshirt have been created by somebody falling on their back? Bigger presentation, drama. spectacle. When you don't have something that you believe in, concrete, the same way the prosecution has, then you have to go big. How are you going to be noticed? How are you going to make your case? Loud, animated, gloves, props. Let me bring a prop. Let me put the evidence gloves on. You have to remember, he doesn't have to keep them on from the beginning. He didn't pick up this sweatshirt from the beginning, but everybody's going to show this clip of Alessi with his black gloves. And of course, Free Karen Read supporters are already talking about it as if it's the end of the world. But nobody's talking about the mistakes that they made, the phone messages that they erased in conversations with their experts. No.
With the indication that somehow, in the clear implication, that these holes are being caused by road rash, and that the holes in the back of the hoodie sweatshirt, Exhibit 88, could have been or likely were caused with regard to some type of impact. Clearly presented to the jurors with that in mind in that questioning. Here is the basis for the mistrial with prejudice. Those holes in the back of the hoodie sweatshirt are clearly, unequivocally, without doubt, caused nothing to do with any type of event on or about January 29, 2022.
So do you have something you said, when you said obviously cut by the criminalist, do you have something that shows that?
Emphasis on every word is going to take away the power from those words. You have to choose the words that you want to emphasize, because if you put the emphasis on each word, it's going to diminish the power of the entire statement. But he unequivocally, do you see me? That's what's screaming from within. Do you hear me? Imagine if he were to just get up and to present the same issue, to call out that Hank Brennan made a mistake, but he would have done it in a monotone way, in a monotone voice. Would it have been more powerful? I don't think they think so, because they want to exaggerate everything. They want to exaggerate a problem, a tiny mistake that Hank Brennan made. And of course, it would have been so much better if it never happened, but it did. Because people make mistakes, like they made mistakes throughout the case. But no, we're going to make it huge. We're going to exaggerate it, because I'm playing it for the whole public in the world. I'm not just playing it for the judge. She's right there. You don't have to scream. She can hear you. When you're on stage in a theater space, you have to know your distance from the first row, from the last row of the audience. And you have to adjust your voice, and you have to emphasize some of the words. In other words you don't emphasize, because that's how you create spontaneity. That's how you create surprise. And the spectators won't know what you're going to do next. But the way that he's doing it, he's already going from big to big to big. You can't go big, big, big. You got to go from somewhere lower than loud to be able to slowly get to the loud. It's more entertaining. But he thinks that this is entertaining, so he's going for it.
That chart that I couldn't understand quickly, is it on that? Does
Yes,
that do
Your
the
Honor.
back?
What
Okay.
we have is two documents to show that.
Right, so the second one, when was that provided?
These, when you say provided, you mean with regard to when did the defense get these in
Yes.
a discovery? Let me get the date, Your Honor.
Sure.
Notice of discovery, May 2023.
Okay.
You see how involved Karen Reed is in this retrial, and she was the same in the first one, from what I saw. I mean, she has more of the date of every little document from what I'm gathering. She's so into it. Good for her. She should. I mean, she's, she's doing her best. I don't want to go through all of it, but let's see a little bit more.
And I will note, Exhibit YYY. The only, I believe, I'm holding up YYY, which is the back of the hoodie, I believe is the only one, to my knowledge, not put into evidence, not turned into evidence. This is the one that it clearly shows the hoodie before the criminalist started her work with the cuts. There are no cuts to YYY, and if we need to, we'll bring Ms. Hartnett in to confirm.
All right, so is ZZZ in evidence?
ZZZ is not in evidence, and that is part of the basis for the mistrial. It is no coincidence that these two documents are not in evidence, because if they were in evidence, they would clearly have prevented the stunt that we just saw occur with regard to Dr. Wolf.
Isn't it curious that you're the one that's creating a stunt, but then you're calling what the mistake that Hank Brennan made a stunt? Are you projecting, Alessi? Mr. Alessi, are you projecting? Isn't it a coincidence? Isn't it a coincidence? He picks up those copies that he made of the hoodie. And it's so funny because he even made the mistake with his defense team, because he's showing the judge a copy of the back of the sweater, of the sweatshirt, when the judge will figure out that it's actually the front of it. You'll see immediately. So he even made a mistake in this whole presentation, because people do make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. So Hank Brennan made a mistake. That's not the end of the world. It wasn't a stunt. It wasn't intentional on his part, but he wants to create it like that. He wants to make it sound like it was, because that's all they have to depend on. They don't have any concrete facts to depend on, because their own star witness proved the defense, proved the prosecution's case. So of course there's desperation. You can feel it. I understand why I can't speak English clearly and I have to come up with words because I think in a different language. But why are you stumbling over the things that you are saying? If you're so confident about your case, why are you even calling for a mistrial if you're confident about your case? Why? It makes no sense to me. Let the jurors decide. If the prosecution has done so many horrible things, or whatever you want to say, they're trying to create a stunt, which is not true, then why are you so scared of them? Why are you so scared of Hank Brennan?
So that is part of the intentional misconduct, Your Honor, is these are documents from the criminalist's file. It's the Commonwealth's documents. And it is very clear when you go to Exhibit ZZZ, the cuts that the criminalist made to the back of the hoodie are specified.
So where on that? Because when I quickly looked at it, I didn't see it. What does it say? Go ahead and read it to me, please.
It's item number 7. I'll read it from the top. LIMS 22-2184. Analyst MSH, which is the initials for Ms. Hartnett. Dates: May 11, 2022, May 12, 2023, and then May 18, 2023. And what she does is she's got the...
You know what? Can you bring it up to me, please?
I certainly can, Your Honor. And I can conduct my argument from right
Even now, the judge has kind of calmed him down because you can see, certainly, Your Honor, I can come, of course. So he's kind of lowered his volume in his voice and he's kind of relaxed a little bit. But right before that, he still has that thing in his throat out of nerves, out of nervousness, and he's not dealing with it. Go get some water. Show that you know, that you're aware that that's what's going on, so we can all be relaxed when watching. That's why I don't think he was credible. That's why I think he was trying to create a stunt. I don't think that he was Hank Brennan who tried to create a stunt. There's no evidence. They always go outside of the facts. They always try to come up with something that's spectacular. They want to create a spectacle, and they've been doing it the whole time. And this is what now has come to towards the end of it. I think their desperation shows. I think him being so loud and being so animated in such a small courtroom, as we can see from watching, as I can see, and what people who are there, YouTube channels that I've watched of people who are inside, they keep saying that it's a small courtroom. You don't have to scream because you're the judge, and the person that you're addressing is within that small courtroom. You're not on a stage and you have 2,000 people. You're not doing a concert and you have to scream at the top of your lungs to be heard. So what is the purpose for doing this? Why couldn't he just talk? Because they're trying to depend on these huge demonstrations. He is doing that. Ellen Jackson is doing that. Yanetti, not so much. But the two of them, when they get up, they're getting themselves so prepared to go into that. I'm here to do a presentation. When great actors do that, if they were in a small theater, the audiences would put their hands over their heads and over their ears because you can't deal with it. It's too much. It's coming at you because you're too close. It's different if you were in a big theater, like I said. Hello, Marianne, Carrie. I know she is. I agree. But if you're watching all the YouTube channels with all the experts, lawyers who are free Karen Read supporters, I'm a mere acting teacher, and watching this trial made me come and talk about it, even though I know nothing when it comes to law, but just from watching them do this theatrical, spectacular trial that the defense is coming up with. And I don't think that they ever saw Hank Brennan coming. It was much easier for them to be believed because it was the first time. So at first, when you present a theatrical event to the public, it's very interesting. We're watching it. We want to be involved in it. We're entertained. But second time around, and they didn't have Hank Brennan the first trial, they had Lally. But now they have Hank Brennan. You know, he's the stronger player who's come on board. Thank you for watching. I'm doing this just as a test because this is the first time that I was able to actually share my screen. I'm very new at this technology. But thank you so much. Let's see. And then, like I said, the judge is kind of calming him down by saying, can I see those? Can I see those? And he actually makes a mistake. I said it before, but he makes a mistake with the copy of it. When he goes to the judge right now, you'll see. Why isn't anybody jumping on him? Why doesn't Hank Brennan pull a stunt on him and say, why did you give the judge the two copies that you said were of the back of the shirt when it's actually the front of the shirt? Why? Why? Are you trying to pull a stunt, Alessi? Are you trying your hands in method acting? I think that's what you're doing. I think that's what he's been doing throughout the trial.
Here, if that helps.
Yeah, I just want to point out to me where it says, where it shows the back.
This is the back. So you can see the back of the hoodie. That's the back of the hoodie head. And then you can see the variations. Let me just get a check on this, Your Honor. I'm not,
Mr. Brennan, you should come up and look at this as well.
Thank you.
and I'm,
So Mr. Alessi, stay here.
yes.
All right, so
He went from the huge, strong Alessi defense lawyer. I'm gonna prove to you that this was a stunt, and we asked for a mistrial. Here are my gloves. You see my gloves? Because if you don't see them too well, I'm gonna show them to you. I'm gonna hold up the imaginary sweatshirt even before I pick it up from the floor, and then I'm gonna bring it up and I'm gonna tell you this is how Hank Brennan showed it to the people. To where he goes now to the judge, and he's like a little boy. He turns into a little boy, so that energy comes down while he's next to her. It's almost like the people that we watch, those YouTubers who are so unafraid when they're behind the camera doing their channels. But then I wonder how they are if you see them on the street in their beliefs for Karen Read. Those Karen Read supporters that call me idiot and call me all sorts of things and ask me if I'm a spy or if I'm, because I don't speak English as my first language, calling me all sorts of things. I wonder if they would say the same thing if we were to meet on the street, because I don't think that's what would happen. So the same with him. As soon as he gets closer to the other person, to the other character on stage, which is how I'm looking at this from an acting perspective, but the acting has to be credible, and this is not. Then he kind of mellows down. He becomes the little child, Alessi. Yes, Your Honor, because she points out to the copies that she just received from him that they are wrong. So there's no more big presentation on Alessi. There's little boy, I made a mistake too. Oh, maybe what was going through his head was, could it be that we people make mistakes? Could it be that we people make mistakes? Yeah, it could be. So he realizes that what he's doing, he's got to do. There's no way back for them. This is towards the end of the trial. So it's a huge risk. So they've got to create chaos. They've got to create scenes and stunts, but they're calling out the other side for doing it, projecting.
this is why I didn't see where was nothing said that she cut it off. And it was shown clear, Mr. Alessi says exterior front.
Can I get the
Well, they're
check?
labeled cuts.
Pardon me?
They're labeled cuts.
Right, but if I can, Your Honor,
Sure.
I want to clarify this. Yes, are you willing, just one? Let me just make sure I get.
Mr. Jackson, it says exterior front, what Mr. Alessi was pointing me to.
And the judge just calls it out. A mistake, Alessi. You were just preaching to all of us. You were in church preaching to all of us how bad Hank Brennan was for making a mistake. And now you've just caught yourself. You were just being caught by the judge making a mistake. And what do you do now? Oh, let me just see. Now all of a sudden you're not presentational. Now all of a sudden we're not seeing your gloves. We're not seeing you emphasizing the words. Why aren't you emphasizing the words and screaming at the top of your lungs when you're next to the judge and to Hank Brennan? Why? All of a sudden you're the little boy, oh, I made a mistake. Because in his head, he's probably thinking, of course, we all make mistakes. It wasn't intentional. Hank Brennan did make a mistake, and it's horrible that it happened. Because now free Karen Read supporters are going to have something, and they already have on all the YouTube channels on her side. They're going crazy with it. So, of course, it's bad, but it's a mistake. And it just happened that he made one with the copies that he gave to the judge. And Hank Brennan looks, I'm sure he's not having the best time right now, the best day. I don't know how Lali, to be honest, did not catch this. Lali's sitting next to Hank Brennan. I mean, he already has so much to deal with. I thought that's what the other lawyers next to the prosecutor are supposed to do. They have to keep a track of all the things, all the evidence, all the, I don't know why did this have to happen? And you can see Hank Brennan didn't want this to happen. So it's not like everybody's saying on the channels of free Karen readers, oh, it was intentional on the part of Hank Brennan. You can tell by his posture. He's not, oh, I pulled a stunt. He's not proud of himself. You can see it. Look at people's behavior. Analyze it from a common sense perspective. Use your common sense. As people, we are all trained to analyze other people because we are trained by life that we have lived. We've all lived life. We all can make the distinction between rational and not rational, between real and fictional, truth and lies. Do you see Hank Brennan? Is this a man? Is this a man here who is proud of what he was able to pull? The way that Alessi says that intentionally he pulled a stunt. He wanted to do it intentionally.
We may have printed the wrong page. I can do it, but Mr. Wolf, can you print the back? And Your Honor, are you comfortable using the computer at the back? Because I think we just had the wrong one.
We need to mark it, though.
Understood. We will. He's printing it right now.
Why did you get so quiet all of a sudden, Mr. Alessi? Why aren't you recognizing? Why aren't you making a stunt of your mistake? Why don't you keep emphasizing that you made a mistake with the copies? With the same aggression and with the same power behind it like you did the presentation to call on Hank Brennan's mistake.
We printed, we wanted to have the front and the back to show all the cuttings, but what only printed out was the front. We are now printing the back. Your Honor is correct.
Okay.
Oh no! Am I seeing what I'm seeing? Is that a stunt that you pulled, Alessi? Did you make a mistake? Did you want to make a copy of the front and the back, and you only made a copy of the front, and you suggested to us for the last 15 minutes by holding up that front and calling it the back of the sweatshirt? Did you try to pull a stunt on us? Did you, Alessi? You were holding them up, calling them the back of the sweatshirt. You were saying it to the judge. You were screaming it out to the world to see. You made a mistake. Now you made a mistake. But now you're retracting. You're not keeping the volume in your voice. You're not keeping your body as animated. You're not punching the podium. You're not doing any of it. You wanted to, you can just lower yourself down. You can just calm yourself down, relax, and you can say, we made a mistake. As people make mistakes. That's why we're people. Thank God. I'm just going to move a little bit forward, see, because he's waiting for the copy.
So, Your Honor, what is being printed is the...
Now he goes back to getting ready to raise his volume in the voice, and he goes to that choke that he has in his throat, that nervousness that he has. Whenever he's encouraging himself to go to that presentational persona that he wants to present to the public, he's got those nerves that kind of creep up, and he's got to deal with them, and they come out through his cough. I don't know if you noticed it, but he had it now again. But when he calms down, when he mellows down, and he's just being a normal defense attorney who's really believing in what he's saying, the same as actors, if you really are believing in what you're doing and you're creating a common sense around you as an actor to create a fictional story, a reality to you, you don't have to demonstrate. You don't have to demonstrate. The audience will be coming to you rather than you trying to go to the audience. The more you go to the audience, the more you try to convey to them, the more they are pushed away from you. And I feel that that's what's happening with Alessi. He's nervous. That nervous cough bothers me as an audience member. If I'm here watching it or if I'm in a theater, I'd be like, I start doing it too, because he's not dealing with it. And instead of him being aware of the fact that when he talks at a normal level, he doesn't have that anymore, that would tell me I'm going to remain there for a while because it's easier for me to be able to be there. The energy, I haven't worked my energy enough to be able to sustain at the presentational level. So I'll bring myself down and then I'll try it again. But he keeps trying because it's desperation that he's dealing with. Desperation. I don't know who he was. I think it was, I don't know. I don't want to say names of other YouTube creators, but it was somebody who said that supposedly Wolf's Arca guy presentation of Rescue Randy and the one that the prosecutor Hank Brennan showed over and over again, which Rescue Randy was like this with the arm out, and the Lexus comes back and hits the arm exactly where John O'Keefe had wound, turns the mannequin around, the shoe almost comes off of its foot. That's a clear demonstration of the prosecution's case. And I think it was said by somebody on YouTube that Alessi was the one from the defense team who did not think it was right for their defense strategy to show those. And the rest of the defense lawyers, Yaneti, Ellen Jackson, and including Karen Reed, she said, no, they're good. They're going to show that, they're going to show the opposite, that I couldn't have done it. So Alessi kind of is trying to fix that, the fact that their star witness proved the prosecution's case.
Which we will mark will be the front of the hoodie. The purpose of Exhibit ZZZ and the one that is being printed is to show and to give the court, and we're going to request to give to the jury the complete picture and the complete true story about these holes in the hoodie that were presented as if they were caused in.
Did you hear that? There was even more than just a cough that was coming from the throat. It's almost like he's physically pushing himself without going through all the stages to get to where he wants to be and be presentational for the public to see him. He's overstepping the steps. It's like me saying right now, I'm going to run a marathon tomorrow. Yeah. I don't run every day, but I'm going to run a 10-kilometer marathon. Well, are you in shape to do it? Are you trained? Are you running every day? Are you working out? No, but I used to run about 3 miles to 4 miles every day. So I can do the marathon tomorrow. When was the last time that you ran 3 to 4 miles? Oh, I don't know, about 7, 8, 9 years ago. But I'm still trained for it. So I'm just going to sign up for the marathon. I'm going to run it. without the training. No, you got to get yourself there. You have to start training again. So the same with these steps. If you want to get to a voice level, you have to kind of get yourself there easily. You can't just over jump the same way that they're doing with the case. They're trying to over jump. They're trying to say this doesn't matter, this doesn't matter, but here's this matters. Forget about the facts from the prosecution's experts and witnesses. Forget about that. They're all bad people, liars. They're theatrical. Can't you see how theatrical? Can't you see how Officer Dever lied and she was so rude to Ellen Jackson? What about Alessi? Is he not being rude? No, it's only the prosecutor and his witnesses.
In some manner by something else other than the
So
criminals.
that seems perfectly reasonable, and I'd be inclined to do that.
I appreciate that, Your Honor. And here is the reason for the motion for a mistrial with prejudice. On its own, to do this, and you put together all of the parts of what just occurred, you start with the fact that and if I could, Your Honor, now that I have it yet marked so I can then refer to it.
All right.
Thank you.
Can you print extra copies too, so I can have my own copy?
Absolutely.
And for the Commonwealth to see?
I don't know how this seems to other people, but to me, it's so hard to watch due to the fact that I was just mentioning before. I can't watch it. It makes me nervous because he's nervous. It makes me want to go get some water. It makes me want to drink because I feel like I have something stuck in my throat. I don't know. I can't watch it. I feel bad. Like I feel bad for Alessi. I don't know why I feel bad because I put myself in the shoes. As an acting teacher, I put myself in the shoes of the people that I'm watching, of the characters that I'm trying to figure out. And that's hard to do what they do. It's really hard to do. I can only imagine. So it's like, oh, why don't you deal with the cough? Can you get some water? I feel like somebody should just hand him some water from the defense table. Why isn't Karen Reed handing him some water? Because she's so on top of everything that happens and she's very aware of everything. I feel like from watching her in court, I feel like she should hand her some water. I don't know. I feel bad and I can't watch it. It makes me nervous.
And I'm going to show the Commonwealth what I just printed.
Exhibit A.
Thank you, Madam Court Reporter.
Showing Hank Brennan. I'm sure he feels horrible about the furnace code.
Well,
Well, Mr. Brennan is reviewing that. I may hand to Madam Court Reporter the chain of custody document for these, and ask that he mark is the next exhibit in order.
Okay?
And then with Your Honor's permission, I would have Madam Court Reporter hand them both up to Your Honor so
Sure.
Your Honor can see what I'm referencing.
Thank you.
Exhibit B for ID.
Blah, they're doing the exhibit.
All right. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Alessi.
No, I
So,
have
Your Honor, to do this quickly chronologically, so we have a hoodie sweatshirt.
I just want to say, Ian, 14, hello. I love your opinions. I'm so glad that you are respectfully saying your opinion. And I did not know that Mr. Alessi has a form of, no, I did not know that. I'm not talking about any kind of medical condition. I'm talking about my acting understanding as an acting teacher. Thank you so much.
that was brought into the criminalist, Miss Hartnett, with the back of the hoodie with no holes on it. The criminalist makes cuts to the back of the hoodie, makes cuts to the front of the hoodie. The exhibit, Your Honor, depicts those. There's a chain of custody document
So he
that
talks about what happened, the mistake that Hank Brennan made, which is a mistake. I wish it never happened. I'm sure he wishes it never happened, but it's a mistake.
we have holes in the back of the sweatshirt that were dramatically held up to and confronted with Dr. Wolf, and then the jury sees it. With the clear, unmistakable, purposeful intention of having the jury conclude that these holes could have come from events on January 29th of 2022, when in fact the Commonwealth
It's kind of curious to me that he talks about Hank Brennan holding the sweatshirt dramatically with the intention of being dramatic in front of the jurors, in trying to create in the jurors' mind the fact that they could have happened in the event of Mr. John O'Keefe's death. Yes, he made a mistake. Those holes were not created by the event. Those holes were created by the criminalist. We know that. But I love that he uses, isn't it? He created a dramatic moment. When you're doing the dramatic moment in this moment, recognize it, admit it. He did a dramatic moment. I'm doing a dramatic moment right now because we're all seeing it. I'm seeing it. I don't know if Ian is seeing it or anybody else, but I'm seeing it. It's dramatic. I'm not going to punch my table because I'm going to hurt my hand, but he did that. That has nothing to do with any kind of credibility in what you are saying, because if you're credible with what you have to offer in your presentation, you can relax a little bit. You don't have to be at that constant level of because then the whole presentation is going to lose the power. If it's all one level, it has to be different colors. It has to be different dynamics. It has to go up and down. It has to be spoken softly at some times. And you make the audience want to come in and hear you. And then it can get bigger. And then you can mellow it down again. Hank Brennan was dramatic, but I'm not. He was dramatic.
knows from its own documents, from its own criminalist, that those holes in the back were caused by their criminalist as part of their examination and sampling of the hoodie. What could be more egregious? What could be more misleading?
What? I love that he pronounces the H between W. What could be more dramatic? What? Go for it. Maybe a Tony for Alessi. Maybe a Tony, maybe, yeah, for this monologue. I don't know. I don't know if I would go that far. I'm joking. Trying to make light of the situation.
Than that. And what could be more important for a context than the alleged collision that never occurred? That's the topic before some of the most significant and probative witnesses in this trial that the Commonwealth has been attacking from the jump of pretrial. They picked the most opportune sense.
Another thing that I've learned over the years of my teaching acting, you don't do the same gesture more than 2 times, because if you do it the 3rd time, it doesn't matter. The audience is not going to be surprised. You've done it once, you maybe do it again, but then you attempt to do it, but don't do it. I love that he's getting this moment where he can just release all of the desperation, because I think that's what's happening. So from that sense, it's a good thing. I feel that he's releasing all of the fears and all of the struggles that they've had with this retrial, you know? And I'm sure everybody's tired and exhausted, without sleep. I know they go out a lot from what I'm hearing on other channels. They're being seen around town at expensive restaurants and they're liking their nightlife. So I'm sure that this is a very liberating, not a liberating, relaxing way of just getting all of the things you don't want to deal with out. Let them out, let them out, let them out. I'm doing that. So thank you for that, Alessi. I have something to thank you. See, I'm doing that myself. Ah, ah. I'm crazy, but he's not. I'm crazy.
Sensitive time to pull this stuff. This is intentional. This is irremediable. This is on the key issue of this case, whether there was.
You know what's so sad about the whole thing? He's giving it his all, and I feel really sad because that takes a lot. It takes a lot out of you to do this kind of presentation the way that he did it. So good for you. I feel really bad for him because I know it takes a lot. So I just want him to relax, and I hope he gets a good night's sleep tonight in the hotel or whatever they're staying. But it's so crazy because even without this, no matter how much you want to pretend that this is huge, huger than a mistake, and how much you want to say it's intentional on the part of Hank Brennan and he pulled a stunt and he did it because he intended to do it. Even without this mistake, take out this mistake, the evidence against Karen Read is huge. And Wolf and Arca proved that. All of the pieces that were missing from the Commonwealth case after Dr. Welcher did his demonstrations and his presentations with the blue paint, all of the missing pieces, all of the things that maybe we were wondering about, we were probably thinking, why wouldn't he do a recreation of the car with a dummy? Why didn't he do all of those things and questions that I had were answered by Wolf from ARCA for the prosecution. So their witness put in all the pieces that were missing from Dr. Welcher's case, from the prosecution's expert. They just did. And I don't know how that happened. I don't know how they allowed that to happen. It's incredible to me. So now it's desperation for all of them. Let me move a little bit because it's too much. I'm like tired. Are you done? Because he's going to say the same thing. He's fighting for every defendant in the United States should have the right. Of course, I agree with all of that, but I think he's still putting his fist on the podium. I hope he doesn't have a bruise.
Public's confidence in the judicial system, that prosecutors will conduct themselves with their duty to present a fair trial. That has to be enforced at some point for Ms. Read to receive the fair trial that she and every other defendant in this Commonwealth is entitled to.
Of course, that was like really smart for him to say that it's about Karen Read, but it's also for all the defendants in Massachusetts, in the Commonwealth, everywhere, because that shows that you're not just referring to the case that you have, but you're so much bigger than that. You're fighting for the rights of every other person. I don't know how many times he pounded on that podium, but I knew it was coming and I was like, oh, not again. That's how an audience thinks. It's like, no, you've done it 1, 2, 3 times. Okay, but 4 or 5 is too much. And this is what happens. Then Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan comes up.
All right, thank you. Mr. Brennan.
Your Honor, my brief review of the lab paperwork and looking at the hoodie, it appears that I made a mistake.
He's nervous, which shows that he regrets the fact that he made this mistake. It doesn't show that he intentionally wanted to create a stunt to lie to the jurors. He has to repeat the same thing that he's saying. The first line he says it, then he restarts because he can't even get the words out. A mistake, people. Like I said, but it doesn't matter because even if he did that or not, again, it was bad on his part that he did not have Lali that was sitting there the whole time. I thought that he was doing all of the research and he would be right on to let him know that's not a hoodie, that the holes in the back were cut by a technician, a criminalist. He made a mistake. It's horrible that it happened. But people make mistakes. Lawyers are people. The same way that the defense lawyers made mistakes. They raised text with Arca, Wolf. They use Signal so they can erase the messages. That's not noble attitude on the part of the lawyers of Karen Read. Everybody does. Everybody's not perfect.
And so I think what should happen is there should be a curative instruction. There should be a stipulation. The court should instruct the jury that during Mr. Brennan's cross-examination, he asked Dr. Wolf about holes on the sweatshirt or holes on the back of Mr. O'Keefe's sweatshirt. The parties agree the holes were made by a crime lab technician. This was done inadvertently but should not have been asked. The court should strike the questions and the answers. And you should instruct the jury there to completely disregard any questions or answers about the.
He's having a hard time with words when he doesn't usually, because he knows that he's embarrassed. I'm sure he's embarrassed. I'm sure he feels embarrassed. Because it shouldn't have happened, but it did. He's apologizing.
Holes in the back of the sweatshirt, and the court should allow the defense to introduce the lab paperwork.
All right. So I'm not going to allow the mistrial motion, Mr. Alessi. What I'm going to do is...
Was not. At the end of it, the judge says, no, there's not going to be a mistrial because the evidence that's already in, without the mistake happened with that the Hank Brennan did, is plenty for the jurors to consider. There's a lot of evidence from both sides. There's one rational on one side and one fictional, but anyway. Okay, so then there is judge doing her thing. That's a lot of going back and forth, how this should be addressed with the jurors. What should she let them know about what happened? I can't hear him speaking. What is he saying again? I don't know the scene.
So I can just leave that all out then and just say, Mr. Brennan asked Dr. Wolf about the holes in the sweatshirt. I instruct you that those holes were made by the criminalist, Ms. Harnett, during the course of her inspection and sampling of the sweatshirt on May 18th. It's probably neater that way anyway. All right, let's bring him in, please.
So this is what she's going to let the jurors know. This happened in court from what I've saw. I mean, from what I've seen from watching this and watching other trials. I mean, there's a lot of times when lawyers on both sides, they will say things that are not allowed for the jurors to hear. And then the judge will have to instruct them to let them know to not pay attention to those statements. So it's the same thing. Mistake was made. He apologized. The judge is dealing with it.
Keeping matter, the sweatshirt's been taken out of the plastic sheet, and it might need to be remarked the plastic sheathing was marked, but if we're going to put it into a bag or something like that, we might need to have it marked. But we don't need to do that right this second.
Okay.
May I approach Mr. McDermott with exhibit
Yes.
88?
Thank you.
Delilah, thank you so much. I appreciate your opinion. I love it. I'm listening to what you have to say with an open mind, but I totally disagree with you at this time. I applaud you for that. That's what's so brilliant about watching the same trial and having different perspectives. I think the fact that we can be civil to one another and respect each other's opinions is the most important. It's left in the hands of the jurors in the end. You know, we can only speculate on one side or the other. We can only have our opinions. I think our opinions and observations are formed by our personal experiences and by our life lived. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different experiences as people. And I think we're all conditioned in so many ways by those. So I appreciate your kindness, and I appreciate you saying that with such a kind attitude. Hi, Brad. 227, has long to die in the cold if Lucky doesn't see you at 3:30. Those are valued opinions. Thank you so much, Brad. I appreciate them. I just thought that was already taken on by the prosecution. For me, just for me, for my point of view, I already thought that they had their experts, and I saw and I believed what they said with the data that they showed, that Haslong to die in the cold could not have happened at 2:27, but it happened the morning of, when Karen Reed was asking Jen McCabe after the body of Mr. O'Keefe was found. So thank you. And the other one with Mr. Lucky, he's such a nice character, such a nice human being. Oh my God, he's amazing. I don't know, he just reminds me of my country, Romania, you know. It's like those people where I come from, in a small village in Transylvania. Just good people, amazing people. But again, you know, he was able to tell the jurors that he did not see anything or any body or anything on the lawn under the snow, or however much the snow was by at that time. But at the same time, he was asked about the dumpster that was so much bigger than what the body of Mr. O'Keefe would have been, and he couldn't see that. So, you know, for me, it's like I have to choose which one do I believe more. My common sense, my reality, it's just my reality, my common sense just tells me that, you know, he could be wrong. It could be that he really believes that he did not see anything, but it doesn't mean that the body wasn't there. I mean, the dumpster was there and he couldn't see it. If you're asking me now, what were the things that I saw on the street coming home, I don't know if I will be able to tell you. I don't know. So that's how I put myself in the shoes of the people as if they were characters, and I'm thinking, did I see anything coming back from where I was the last thing that I did today? No. So thank you so much, Brad. I appreciate your opinions very much. Thank you, Delilah. That's so sweet. Thank you so much. I think this is almost finished. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I am so excited that I was able to do my first, hi. Are you wanting to get through? I did my first live with sharing my screen, and my English was really bad. You know, I talk better English when I'm not on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have moments, I have days, even when I teach, I have moments when I'm at school teaching, and I have moments when my English is just out the window. And I'll say to my students, I'll be like, my English is not with me today. So I'll have to make sounds and I'll have to like just say things that I don't want to. Thank you. Now I can even reply to your comments. Thank you so much, everyone, for your personal opinion. You all are my first live audience. Oh my goodness, thank you. I couldn't do the writing of the comments, the response, because I don't know how to do 2 monitors. Ooh la la. Thank you so much. Hello. Yeah, I'm almost done. Can you believe I did it? I'm so like, oh my goodness. Now I feel like I'm no. Yeah. Thank you everyone so much. I appreciate. No, they haven't without next dark a witness. Brett Tipton, thank you so much everyone for your personal opinions. You all are my first live audience. Congrats. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Brad, so much. Tipton. Am I supposed to say the names out of the people who comment or no? Thank you. Congratulations. I'm getting red. I don't know if you guys are seeing that I'm actually getting red, like from being embarrassed. But you guys are so nice. Oh, thank you, Brad. I just asked if I'm allowed to say the people in the comments because I don't want to say your names. Oh, because everybody can choose their name on the YouTube. Yeah, see how new I am at this. I was doing my YouTube channel for many years and then I let it go. And then I was doing my interpretation of Meghan Markle. I was just doing like a farcical interpretation of Meghan Markle for a long time. I was trying because I was afraid to just be myself and talk. So I was going into like, oh, hello, this is Meghan Markle. And then I did that for a while and I said, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. So this is my first week. Last week was my first week giving this a try. So I feel like I'm the first time on stage. I remember when I was in Romania many years ago, and the first time I was able to be on stage on a very known theater in Bucharest. And I had a small role. It was only like I was on stage 2 times for 5 minutes. But those 5 minutes, 2 times on stage, my first time was the most amazing experience. And at the end, when we got the applause were for the main characters and the main actors. But it was the most satisfying sensation. It was like, I did it. I was able to do it. It felt so great. So that's how I feel now, like 30 years later with you guys. Thank you. Oh, my opinions. Yeah. Brad, I think you'll see. I just, Brad, I didn't see your opinions, but I'm giving mine. Congratulations. I didn't see your opinions. No, I just, I'm going with the more, no, I shouldn't say that. I'm on the side of the prosecution at this point, and I think the most eventful, surprising thing that happened for me when watching the trial was when Dr. Wolf from ARCA came with his demonstrations of the recreation of how the car crash could have happened and how it couldn't have happened. I think for me, that one video with the Lexus backing up into Rescue Randy, where Randy has the hand out and the truck, the Lexus backs up, it hits the hand, the tail light shatters. The dummy, I know he's not a dummy. I think Hank Brennan said that he's a rescue Randy. He's not a dummy. That's usually used in these kinds of accidents. When it turns around after the hit, the legs twist and one of the shoe almost comes out. I think that's when it hit me and I was like, oh my God, this is what could have happened. So I know they were trying to prove the case. I think the defense with Dr. Wolf was trying to prove the defense's case, but I think it worked towards the benefit of Commonwealth. I believe the same thing. To be up in front of an audience, yeah. I know YouTube, but it's different. YouTube is a great place to be a performer in front of audiences. I know. I don't do acting. I haven't done acting for a long, long time, but I'm teaching it. I'm still within the same domain, so I'm grateful for that. I believe the same thing. The defense's best play right now would be convincing jury was a fall. Exactly. I've been saying the same thing. Yeah. So thank you so much. I'm going to go because I think my husband is like, are you done? Are you done? He's been making his way to the kitchen and back. Thank you, everyone, so much. Oh my God, this is like such a thank you. I hope justice will be served in this trial and we'll see what goes on. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you again for being my first live audience on YouTube. See, I'm doing it 3 times. I'm telling Alessi not to do the pounding on the table more than 3 times. Well, I'm doing it 3 times. He did it like 4 or 5. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you, everyone. Bye.